Alright, guys, welcome to the second episode of the Anything Wrestling podcast. Once again, thank you so much for joining me here today. Here we are on the second episode, and I thought we can try out, a first on the series. It's only the second episode, of course, but I wanted to review the Money in the Bank 2017 pay-per-view. I feel like this was a pay-per-view that had a lot of hype going into it, a lot of prestige, a lot of moments that we were all definitely looking forward to, a lot of great matches as well. I feel like the WWE nowadays, it's not that they don't have a good card. When they do have a good card, they just decide for whatever reason to, test out horrible things, and all of a sudden the status of the pay-per-view gets diminished. Its prestige kind of gets diminished. So let's go through all these matches one by one, and I'll offer my opinions. And once again, guys, feel free to leave all your comments, and all your opinions in the comment section below. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree? Why or why not? So let's begin with the pre-show. So in the pre-show, we had the Hype Bros, Zack Ryder and Mojo Rawley versus the Colognes, Primo and Epico. I feel like, Mojo's WrestleMania win for the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal was just very random to me. I just feel like they just selected him. I feel like Braun Strowman should have been I thought he was the odds-on favorite to win that match. For whatever reason, they gave it to Mojo Rawley. I don't have a problem with Mojo Rawley. I get his gimmick. I get, what he's supposed to be doing. And with Zack Ryder, poor Zack Ryder has been through so many ups and downs. Hopefully this will be the one tag team that can kind of elevate him to the top. The match was okay. Not a whole lot going on. A lot of Mojo kind of showing off what kind of a competitor he is. Kind of interacting with the crowd, and every time he would get a chop, he would kind of just shake it off and tell the guy, hey, yeah, chop me again. The match was okay. It was fine. Obviously not match of the night or anything, but hopefully it's a stepping stone for both Mojo Rawley and Zack Ryder. So we come down to probably the most controversial match on the card. Once again, this pay-per-view, but this match in particular, had so much hype going into it. I mean, you would watch all those video packages, of Natalya and Carmella and Tamina and Becky Lynch and Charlotte, all talking about, what this match means to them, the prestige of it, how much it means to them that, finally the women's division gets a Money in the Bank ladder match. And here's the thing, I feel like the match was okay. I'm not going to sit here and say it was the best ladder match ever. I feel like their SmackDown match was a little bit much better. They would kind of tease the winner, and let's say if Charlotte would go up the ladder, they would knock her down, and then Tamina would go up, they would knock her down. So they kept on teasing it. For this match, I felt like it was okay. It certainly felt like it was shortened down, like it was probably extended and then they shortened it down. But to have James Ellsworth, climb up on that ladder and grab the briefcase, hand it over to Carmella. Here's the thing. If they were to do this next year, like let's say for the second Money in the Bank, women's Money in the Bank match, I would be perfectly fine with that. Why? Because I would think to myself, okay, it's established. We know what type of a match it is. We know what these women can do. WWE is just looking for something different. They want people to talk. They want a new ending. They don't want just a traditional, woman going up there, grabbing the briefcase and being declared the winner. However, when it's the first ever women's in the Money in the Bank match, and James Ellsworth grabs the contract and hands it over to Carmella, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. Just for the fact that all these women in the video package are talking about the legacy, where they come from, where they're going, how this can help, Tamina get back on the map, or how it can help Charlotte, add more, accolades, to her resume, or how it can help Becky Lynch after she's been knocked down so many times. Every single woman that came into this match was being offered, was kind of standing in a very unique position. Carmella, she was looked down on and nobody believed in her, but now this was kind of a launching pad for her. And Natalya, time after time, she gets a title opportunity, comes a little bit short, has a family legacy, that's kind of dangling over her head. So each woman was kind of placed in a very unique position, rightfully so. Now, if what they did on SmackDown, if they did that in Money in the Bank, that would have been awesome. I don't think anybody would have disagreed, because interference, once again, it's not the first time. But to have an outside, manager, advocate, or whatever you want to call it, come and get the contract and hand it over to another competitor, it's like, okay, for a first ever women's Money in the Bank match, you are tarnishing, the reputation of that match has already been tarnished. Think about it, years down the line, you think about the first ever Money in the Bank women's match, you think to yourself, oh, that's right, James Ellsworth got it, then Carmella got stripped of it, and then she had to get it back on SmackDown the following week. There's this whole build-up. However, if you were to say, oh yeah, the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match, women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and Carmella won, she grabbed the briefcase and she held it over her head, okay, fair and square, nobody can say anything. I will say this, Carmella's promos after Money in the Bank were amazing. She was getting heat from the audience, she was talking down on the audience, and kind of, giving a really valid point of, hey, you can't break a rule if there's no rules to break. And so her promos they're definitely elevating her, but I feel like they need to really build that up, in the next couple months. So we'll see how, her run goes as she cashes in and as she, goes towards the championship. So then we have, the third match of the night, the second of the official pay-per-view, the New Day versus, the Usos. I gotta say, the New Day have already been established as one of the greatest tag teams ever. The Usos have stepped up their game ever since, turning heel. They stripped away all the bright colors, and all the, face paint. It's all just, black and white, and, their promos have gone up, top notch. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing, using, all these, heel antics to kind of, escape matches and, retain the titles. And it kind of sucks because at Mania they didn't even have a title match. So I feel like this match, what they're gonna do, until SummerSlam, they're gonna, keep on, going through with it, and then at SummerSlam, I think they'll have like a definitive winner. But as far as for this match, I felt like it was going great. A lot of moments where, they hit a special move and, it's 1-2 and then someone comes and breaks it up at the last minute. So I really like tag team matches like that. It's, the Usos had one really classic match that stands out above the rest. I think it was Battleground 2014. It was Usos versus Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, and it was an amazing match. But so the Usos have it in them to have a great match. I think that's already been established. But the Usos, when they got out of the ring and sort of walked out, it's like, okay, what they're going for. They're supposed to be heels. They're supposed to be drawing heat, so it makes sense. But I feel like the whole count out and the whole disqualification thing has been happening really too much. I feel like it's not even the reality era, it's the get disqualified and counted out era, because I feel like every other Raw, every other SmackDown, it's always going on. And it's not even within context, it just happens, to kind of throw off a match. So I see these guys having a great match at SummerSlam. I don't see New Day taking the tag titles away from the Usos. I feel like the Usos should have a really long run, especially now that they're a heel and they have a whole new, lease on life. I feel like, they should keep the titles. So, and then you have Lana versus Naomi for the Women's Championship. Again, a good way to have people talking, before, during, and after the match. Before the match, everyone's thinking Naomi, honestly with Naomi, they really weren't doing a whole lot before this match. She was just sort of there as a women's champion, but she really wasn't in any of the matches. And I was kind of glad that, okay, she's a part of a match where everybody now is all of a sudden, they have an opinion. They're talking, oh, Lana, she's fresh, she doesn't have a whole lot of experience. But Naomi, her title run has not been so great. Maybe we can give it to Lana and have something happen. So, and there was even speculation of Rusev coming out and interfering. So, once again, it just sort of, I feel like it was trimmed down. I feel like they could have done a little bit more. Lana was doing great. I didn't have a problem with that. It's just when Carmella came out, I get it. They were teasing it like, oh, she didn't, she won because of James Ellsworth. Now she's going to cash in and, become a champion. Not because she won the match, because somebody else won it for her. But she comes out, she teases it, she goes back, and her distraction really doesn't affect Lana, because Lana just pins Naomi right after Carmella goes to the back. So it's like, you have interference, but it's not even within context, so what's the point of doing it? So Naomi retains via submission, and I feel like Naomi, she's great. She knows what her gimmick is now. She can wrestle. Her mic skills are okay. She can do a little bit better. But this match, they also had the follow-up match on SmackDown where it was like a 40-second squash match, and in one way, they're kind of giving Naomi kind of like her unique title run. Like, okay, she defeated a new competitor, at Money in the Bank, and then she squashed that new competitor in a 40-second match. What can she do now? And for Lana, it might be a chance for her to kind of, get some experience, kind of, get some ring rust, and then they can put her in a really good feud with, women's competitor in the future. So, yeah, that's that. Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal for the WWE Championship. I feel like the writing was on the wall for this one. I feel like they were going... I knew they were going to, keep the belt on Mahal, and maybe around SummerSlam they're probably going to do something. But here's the thing. You want to talk about Money in the Bank having so much controversy, talk about Jinder Mahal becoming WWE Champion. Let me just say this. Jinder Mahal's gimmick right now is brilliant. It's amazing. As a matter of fact, that Money in the Bank package video where it had the Indian song playing in the background with the subtitles and kind of showing off the different pictures of India, I thought that was brilliant. Jinder Mahal, I gotta say, they put together a really good, really great gimmick for him. He has the Sim brothers, comes out of a limo, there's a carpet rolled out underneath him. Everything about his gimmick, you get it. It makes sense. You know why they're doing it. But here's the problem. When you take someone like Jinder Mahal, who has been jobbing and losing to all these squash matches for years, you don't give him a time to establish himself, and you take him from jobber to WWE champion. It's like, what the heck just happened? I feel like if they were to give the belt to, let's say if Jinder Mahal came back and he goes along with this new gimmick, and let's say he gets the Intercontinental title and he brings back some of that prestige, because the Intercontinental title has lost its prestige. I'm sorry, it doesn't matter if it's on Dean Ambrose or The Miz or Baron Corbin or Kevin Owens or whoever it's on. I feel like they diminished the value of the Intercontinental Championship. Now, one of the ways you can probably get it back is have someone like Jinder Mahal. Let him defeat, whoever the champion is. Oh, Jinder Mahal, wow, that's a shocker. He just became Intercontinental Champion. Give Mahal the belt and let him roll along with that, Indian gimmick. And it's not even a gimmick because the guy's from India, but have him run around with the Sin brothers and roll out the carpets and have that, all those unique video packages. That way, it's like, okay, you build him up as this solid heel. We know who he is. We've seen him come out to his entrance theme 1,000 times. We've seen him come out with the Sim brothers. We've seen, the carpets getting rolled down underneath him. We get it. We know what his gimmick is. And then I would say maybe roughly around next year, I don't know, I will say, have Mahal win Money in the Bank. Have him establish that gimmick. Establish it for about a solid year. Get to Money in the Bank next year, have him win, and have him cash in at the worst moment for a champion to be champion, and Mahal becomes the WWE champion. That way, yes, fans will be shocked, but they won't be shocked because of, politics behind the curtain. They'll be shocked because, oh my god, Mahal went from this guy who used to be a jobber, established himself in a really good gimmick, and now has become the WWE champion. We get it. Okay, let's roll with it. Let's go with it. We know where the ball is going now. Anyway, so Mahal being champion, okay, it wasn't the right time. They really didn't build him up. His promos too have been getting a lot better. I like it. I'm digging it. Randy Orton, I like the whole thing with, the Sim brothers, putting their hands on, Cowboy Bob Orton, and, Randy Orton, killing the Sim brothers. It's actually really fun to see. Reminds me of J&J Security from, his feud with Seth Rollins. But, so once again, Randy beats these guys up, gets in the ring, Jinder Mahal hits his, finisher, 1, 2, 3, and Mahal retains. I thought it was one of those matches where Mahal kept on working on Orton's leg the whole time, where he targets one body part and just goes for it. The last 5 minutes was pretty entertaining. I knew for a fact that Randy was not going to win. I knew they were going to keep the belt on Mahal, but again, kind of going back to the whole thing with Carmella, it gave Jinder Mahal a chance to develop, to kind of get a fresh start on this new gimmick and roll with it, go with it. So we'll have to see what happens. So it was a pretty okay match, not a whole lot going on. Once again, the most exciting part was the last 5 minutes. So, all right, next we got Breezango versus the Ascension. This was an added match. Not really a whole lot to say. It was under 5 minutes, which just shows you. All I gotta say is Breezango, they actually made their gimmick work. They're doing stuff. They're actually having backstage segments that actually matter and that actually have something to do with their gimmick. The Ascension have fallen really, really bad. I mean, these guys used to be the longest reigning NXT champions, and they've just been jobbing the last couple of years they've been in the WWE, the main roster. So, not a whole lot to this match. It was okay, I guess. Breezango is they're kind of getting a winning streak now, so we'll have to see, where things end up for both these teams. And then we come down to the very last match of the night. The, men's Money in the Bank match. You had AJ Styles, Baron Corbin, Nakamura, Sami Zayn, Ziggler, and Kevin Owens. Quite honestly, I was pulling for Sami Zayn first and foremost, and maybe Dolph Ziggler, because I'm one of those guys where I feel like Dolph Ziggler should have a push because he can talk on the mic, he can wrestle a 5-star match. I personally didn't have a problem with Baron Corbin winning the match. Baron Corbin has been establishing himself as a really good heel. His mic skills could get a little bit better, I'd say. His matches are pretty good. He's been in, triple threats, fatal 4-ways, elimination chamber, Money in the Bank as he won. So he's definitely been up there. He's been in the spotlight. And the unique start to the Shinsuke, for Shinsuke Nakamura, being attacked and then coming back in the match, and they're teasing AJ Styles versus Nakamura, which should be match of the year or a match of the year candidate, but I honestly felt like the match started off a little bit slow. I feel like they were just sort of doing, moves here and there, but slowly as we got around, I'd say the 15-minute mark, you saw all these spots going on, like, person A would come knock out person B, and then person C would knock out person D, and, person A would come in and knock down person C, so, you had all these spots going on, and it's like, you didn't know who was gonna win. You didn't know because everybody would climb up the ladder, get knocked down. Somebody would climb up again, they would get knocked down. So you didn't know what was gonna happen. And then again, Baron Corbin wins the match. I didn't have a problem with it. I was pulling for Sami because I feel like he has fallen. He went from having classic matches with Shinsuke Nakamura and Kevin Owens, and he just sort of been there, and he's really pushing that, that underdog verbiage that everybody keeps on throwing down on him. But apparently Dolph Ziggler might be going to Japan, I think. I don't blame him because the guy's been held down for much too long. I didn't have a problem with Baron Corbin winning. I get it. I see him cashing in maybe before 2017 ends. If not, I see it in very early 2018. And I do see him having a successful cash in because, he has the size and he has, all the moves, and he, his promo's gonna be a little bit better, but I don't have a problem with Baron Corbin, being Mr. Money in the Bank. We'll just have to see how it goes for the rest of the roster. AJ Styles now, he might be chasing the United States Championship, so he's gonna be paired with Kevin Owens. Dolph Ziggler might be leaving sometime soon. Sami Zayn, I don't know what they're gonna do with him. Right now he's in a program with Corbin. We'll have to see what happens. AJ Styles, I talked about AJ Styles. Shinsuke Nakamura, I feel like, when he came in at Backlash, they didn't really give a really good match, with Dolph Ziggler. Not that they couldn't. They had a match on SmackDown, which was a whole lot better. But we'll just have to see. All in all, Money in the Bank, it was a pretty stale pay-per-view. I feel like 2017 in general for wrestling has been very stale. Some high points here and there, but nothing where I can really say, oh my god, like it was beyond great. So yeah, I feel like the pay-per-view was pretty solid. It was okay. Wasn't the best pay-per-view in the world. Wasn't the best Money in the Bank pay-per-view in the world. The fact that you diminished the women's Money in the Bank match kind of downgraded things, and the fact that you kind of have Naomi and Lana fighting for the women's championship, and you have an interference that really doesn't do anything, kind of diminishes it. So, you know, you have an add-on match, you have, you know, a count-out victory. So, for the most part, a little bit of a stale pay-per-view. I feel like everybody expected just a little bit more, but we'll have to see. You know, usually around SummerSlam is where, you know, WWE ups their, you know, their game, they up the ante. So we'll just have to see how things go. So I give Money in the Bank, out of a 10, I would probably give it a 5 or a 6 maybe. I'm very iffy about that. It's just, you know, the matches were there. It was a good lineup. You had all the competitors in the world, but they kind of dropped the ball with that one. So I don't know, maybe a 4, 5, or a 6. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know of what you would rate it, if you agree or disagree, why or why not, what you would have done differently. Let me know what you guys think. Once again, thank you so much for joining me on the second episode of the Anything Wrestling podcast, and I will see you all next time.